This is a 3-piece wood takedown bow. Today's video is video number 2 on how to build this bow. I also wrote a book about it if you're interested in the step-by-step guide. Additionally, Shatterproof Archery put together a kit with all the exact materials, including the hardware that you need to build the bow. The description has all the info. I hope you enjoy this video on how to glue up these limbs. Now it's time to glue it up. Here's how I do it. First, the better these pieces match up, the easier it's gonna go for you. So I'll place all of these down together and I'll line it up as good as I can and add some spring clamps. Now I can run this to the belt sander and true up the edges. I wanna add some reflex. So this is my setup. The blocks are 31 inches apart from the insides. This right here is 1 inch and these ones right here are 2 inches tall. So that allows us to take our board after the glue's on it and we can reflex this down just like that. And then we'll add our clamps. So this was what would be called a dry run. Everything's lined up. Make sure everything looks good. Now we just need to add the glue and do this again. First thing is when you're setting up the form here, you don't want these to move around because when you push the bow on it, it can move it. I'm putting the blocks at 31 inches apart and then I'm going to screw them in from the bottom so they can't move. Now with our 1 inch block, we want it to be right in the middle. Now nothing's gonna move around on you and the glue up's gonna be much smoother. I do like to clean my pieces with acetone. Everything's cleaned up and ready to go. I will do a sizing coat first again, just an initial thin layer. After a minute or so, the final coat. I'm using Type-On 3 wood glue here. Any yellow wood glue works great. This one is supposed to be waterproof, so I guess that's a good thing. But I finish my bows anyway, so I don't necessarily need waterproof glue. Yes, you could use hide glue. You could use EA40. You could use Unibond. But wood glue is one of the best. I like to err with too much glue and too many clamps. All right, let's clamp it up. First, I'm just gonna lay it down, throw a clamp on. Awesome, okay, so that's starting to set together. Now we can go for the middle clamp. I think this is a spring clamp will be good enough there. There we go. And then I like to clean some of the squeeze out just to keep it clean. If you go ahead and get a rag and wipe the glue off before it hardens, it's going to be a lot less cleanup later. I will add a little bit of a tighter clamp at the fade out and any place that looks like there could be a gap. The reason I'm using clamps rather than wrapping it in some sort of elastic is because wood glue needs air to cure. If you use EA40, you can wrap the entire piece in some sort of elastic or bike tire like this, and it'll cure based on the chemical reaction of the epoxies mixing. But if I were to wrap this in saran wrap or the bike tire, this glue would never cure. It really doesn't need to be overcomplicated. There are hundreds of ways to glue something up. You take the principle of, okay, these pieces need to be flat and they need to be pressurized. How can we do that? There's no right or wrong. It's fun to be creative and use the methods that you have. So let's do the other one the exact same. If we flip the script and say, what could we do to guarantee that this would fail? It gives us a frame of mind to figure out what we need to solve for before we glue up. Here's a few things to keep in mind or to implement so that the chance of failure goes down. Use your fingers. I know I already mentioned this, but really double check that this is very flat. The mistake is that if there's dips in your material, if they don't come together flat, then it's really hard to get a good glue up. And sometimes if you're not particular on the material prep, when you push it together, there's gaps just by holding it into place. And I'll mimic it. It could look like that. Now if this is pushed, it's good. But just by barely touching the sander on a location you didn't want to, or putting too much pressure, you can end up with a large glue line. Also, the limb wedge. The most common place in the glue up where there's going to be a gap is going to be at the end of the fade out of the limb wedge for two reasons. One, you just don't have enough clamping pressure there. Two is because the featheredness, it's not feathered enough. So it's not gradual enough coming into the limb. So there's basically a steep angle there, and that's when it has a problem. And then with your glue, make sure you have enough glue. More clamps are better, and you will have a great glue up. All right, so I'm just here trying to shoot a little bit of B-roll for you guys, and I cannot get over how smooth this shoots. I built this one about 4 months ago, and it just blows my mind. It's like for an all-wood bow to be shooting, like if I didn't know, I would be thinking I'm shooting a fiberglass bow. I'm just saying if the goal is smoothness, this is one to consider.